Next time you're in Dollar Tree, head on over to their candles section. They have so many different options for you to choose from, and it doesn't really matter if you're looking for something to create some beautiful home decor or to possibly give as a gift for someone. There's usually something here for the DIYer and everyone. On my most recent trip to Dollar Tree, I found these awesome floating candles, and I wanted to share a couple ideas with you that are super easy and super high-end and don't require much skill at all. And even better, they're all budget friendly. In the plus section, they have added some new glass pieces, and I absolutely am in love with this one for just $3. Even recently on a Goodwill trip, I couldn't find a large piece like this for under $3.99. One cool way to style this large glass piece is just to take some greenery and put in the bottom. Now be mindful, not everything's gonna sit at the bottom, so it might take a little bit of trial and error. These worked out just perfectly and they stayed, they did not float. So that's another thing that you want to keep in mind making something like this, is making sure it's gonna sink. Then grab you some water, fill it up to where you would like your water line to be, and then add in your little candle. And in just a couple minutes, you have a really high-end little centerpiece, or a piece that you could just kind of put on your coffee table off to the side and have a nice ambiance. If you ever feel like your glass pieces from Dollar Tree need a little bit of bedazzling, their sticker section is always a great place to grab a couple little gems so you can add onto your pieces. With that being said, I do want you to keep in mind that these are stickers, my friends. So if you want them to stay on permanently, grab you some E6000 or my favorite Gorilla Glue gel and put a little bit on the back with the sticky part, so this way it won't pop off. As I was applying this one, I realized it didn't go all the way around, so I did have to measure another piece down to size and just trim it so it fit into place. And in case you're wondering, Brandy, why are you holding a paper towel? It's just so I don't get fingerprints on the glass. If you want, you could absolutely leave your piece empty. I grabbed 2 white fake roses and put in the bottom of here. They're just from Dollar Tree, nowhere in particular or no type of floral specifically or special. Added the water up to where I felt like it made sense, and then put in our little floating candle. Dollar Tree recently came out with the large glass fishbowl pieces for $3. I mean, why not? They match the smaller options they have for just $1.25. I felt like these would make an amazing cohesive collection set. Grabbed a couple little gemstones from their sticker section just to kind of put all over our glass pieces for a little bit of bling. But I quickly realized that these are kind of all in one string. So I grabbed my scissors and I went up the opposite way, cutting them. So that way they were individual little gemstones. On the 2 small glass pieces, I decided to just space them out all over the place. And on the large one, I just put them right at the top. Keep in mind that these are stickers, so if you want them to stay on here, adding some E6000 or Gorilla Glue gel to the back of the adhesive will make them permanent. Otherwise, you just put the stickers on here and then you can remove them and change them throughout the season, throughout the year, to mix up with whatever works best for your decor. Now I got the bright idea that I wanted to pop some pearls in the big one. So Dollar Tree had some different varieties. You know, I don't craft with pearls or really use them for anything often. And while my intentions were good, the universe just wasn't working with me this day. Ah! Oopsie. They're not sinking. Sink. The amount of time I spent trying to push them suckers down to the bottom of these glass pieces is embarrassing. I won't even tell y'all. I ended up scooping them suckers out and just putting them in a paper towel to dry. And then I did find some larger ones in my stash and just dropped them in. Feel like if I had a little bit more, they would have looked a little bit better, but I did decide to pop a mirror underneath of here, give it a little bit more elegance, and loved how this trio turned out. In the Dollar Tree Plus section where their candles are, they have these gorgeous, large, white, unscented candles for just $3, which personally I feel like was a steal because on a recent trip to Goodwill, I found this dirty, crusty joint for $3.99. I mean, eventually it looked like this, but I put a lot of work in for an extra $1. For that upcycle, I used a napkin, and today we're going to use a piece of TDS Decoupage tissue paper. This print is so pretty, and if you're wanting to transform a candle and create some unique decorative decor for your home, adding some tissue paper to candle wax can really give you that effect. I like to leave a little bit of overhang with my material just to make room for mistakes. I'm using some good old Mod Podge for our medium. Feel free to use whatever medium works for you. And then I just go section by section, applying the roll and rub on method with my tissue paper and a piece of parchment paper. You could absolutely grab you a piece of cling wrap, whatever works best for you when you're applying your decoupage. I do like to use a medium whenever I'm applying tissue paper to a candle. I feel like the results are always better, and I don't plan on burning this. It's decorative, so in the event that you're wondering if you can burn this, I don't recommend that because it has Mod Podge on it. If you're looking for a technique that would allow that, taking a heat gun and melting a napkin in is a better way to get that result. It's just been my experience that if you're not using tissue paper that's as porous as a napkin, which this is not, it is 18-pound tissue paper, so it's porous, but not as porous as a napkin, you're not going to get that melted smooth connection that a heat gun provides you. And for anyone looking for how to do that technique, I can put a link for that upcycle video down in the description box, which is where you'll also find a link to the DIYstruggle.com where you can check out this beautiful TDS decoupage tissue paper. I was recently asked if I had any recommendations for an X-Acto knife. I struggle with hand grip strength issues, and I know so many of you do too, and surprisingly, I didn't. So I picked this up from Amazon and I've been testing it out. Now, I can't say it's necessarily a go-to just yet, but I do appreciate how thick the handle is, and this was really easy to switch the blades in and out. And it did an absolutely stunning job to finish off the top of this gorgeous Dollar Tree DIY candle home decor piece. Whenever you're making candle decor, it's always a good idea to bust out the napkin stash and go through all your little gems and find some perfect pieces. I definitely was feeling just a little bit Christmassy for this project and grabbed one of Dollar Tree's white unscented small pillar candles. I personally feel like these are absolutely perfect if you are new to decoupage and you want to try and decoupage a napkin onto a candle. And if you've never done this before, I'm going to show you one of the easiest ways to try this at home, what I like to call patchwork. This can be tedious if you're doing a large amount of them, but we're just going to do one. We're not trying to rush all in here. We're going to need just the top decorative layer of the napkin. So remove all them sneaky layers and then trim down whatever section you would like from your napkin. I'm just trimming down as close as I can to these little ornaments and just kind of measuring it around our candle to make sure it's going to fit exactly where we want it to fit. Next, grab you a piece of parchment paper. We're going to use this to help attach our napkin. You will need a heat gun as well because we're not going to use a medium. This way, if you want to burn it or if you want to give this as a gift, they can burn it as well. Instead, we're going to put our heat gun on low and we're going to just kind of melt that wax. You'll see how it's turning clear behind our little patched napkin piece we have on here. And you want that whole piece to turn clear. That means that the wax is seeping up through the napkin and it is catching the napkin, attaching it as it dries. I use the parchment paper to just kind of put it in place and it dries within a couple of seconds. You can absolutely do this to your heart's desire, put as many pieces on here as you would like, or do it for a whole entire napkin, which it can be a little tedious. It's always a good idea to leave a little bit of overhang so this way you have room for errors. You can trim them down and then melt around the top so this way everything is attached and it looks really nice. Now this is perfect just the way that it is, but I wanted to add a little something extra, so I grabbed some TDS dry rub on transfers and I just cut out a little Merry Christmas section. Putting transfers onto candles really depends on the quality of the transfer and the size. I don't have the best luck doing this with larger sections of transfers, but for small little pieces like this, it usually applies really well and it adds just a little bit of something on to the candle. Still kind of safe to burn. I've burned these down and the transfer itself will kind of shrivel off. But if you're going to put a medium or anything over it, I wouldn't recommend burning it. The colored candles at Dollar Tree can serve as the perfect background for adding something onto the pieces. And in this case, we're going to be adding on some TDS dry rub on transfers. A question I get asked is, can you put transfers on candles? And my honest response is it depends. Not all transfers are created equal and some are more tacky than others. It's always a good idea to just put a nice base on here, and I like to use Mod Podge to do that. You can let this dry, then it's going to give you a nice tacky surface for whatever transfers you are using to stick to that wax, well, to the Mod Podge. And it's important to keep in mind that transfers are not meant to go on wax. They're meant to go on wood, ceramic, glass, things like that. This is definitely not a typical surface. However, if you got some patience and determination and a little bit of elbow grease, usually I can get small transfers to stick onto the wax without any Mod Podge. But definitely for the larger sections, the Mod Podge helps and it just makes the process that much better. Do not let the editing fool you, people. You know I don't like to pull the wool over your eyes. Definitely it's going to take a good 3 to 5 minutes of rubbing these transfers on here. It is patience, but absolutely worth it for decorative purposes. These are perfect to just plop around in different sections, whether it's for seasonal decor or everyday use. And you can accent these on up with twine and whatever else you would like to fit your decor. They would even make great little gift ideas. A great way to use the colored candles at Dollar Tree is to paint designs onto the front of them. One of my favorite paints to use for this, I pick up at Walmart. It's by Folk Art. It is a multi-surface paint and it is really inexpensive. I have also used chalk paint before. I find that they work pretty well, but I have noticed that anytime I try to do this with just regular acrylic paints, I'm putting on some coats and it can be a little tedious when you're painting on wax. So save yourself the trouble, people, and learn from my struggle and just go ahead and use chalk paint or a multi-surface. I'm keeping this DIY super simple and just painting a nice snowy ground and some trees. If you want to seal over your piece, you go right ahead. And if you want to burn a candle that you paint, I would recommend not putting too much paint on around the top, kind of putting your decoration down at the bottom and just burn it till you get to that point. Or not burn it at all. It's so pretty. And if you struggle with hand painting, just grab a stencil, people. Wrap that sucker right on around the candle. Grab you a pouncer. Make sure it is pounced pretty dry. Now, one section I did do a little bit heavier because if you make a mistake in your pouncer or whatever you're using to apply your paint onto the candle through the stencil is a little extra. I want to show you how to fix that mistake, okay? When you're happy with your application, just remove the stencil. And if you happen to see where any bleed through came about, just grab a paintbrush, a thin one, of course, a thin one. And then you can easily, because it's still wet, and the wax material, you know, it's waxy, you will be able to just kind of follow along with the lines, trace kind of where it was, wipe that excess paint right off, and it really it's hard to tell where you had any bleed through with your stencil. People, if I'm being honest, I completely overshot it with this DIY project. I was reaching just a little bit with my creativity. Here we go. Get you a clay tool and start carving. You could absolutely use a stencil for this, like as a sketch. I decided to just kind of wing it and put a leaf in here. It took me 30 minutes, friends, to carve out this leaf in this candle. And as I went, I grabbed my heat gun to, you know, make the wax a little bit easier to manipulate. And it also, because you'll notice as you're carving, if you go to try this at home, which I actually encourage, I mean, seriously, put your crafty pants on, step out of your comfort zone and carve a candle. It was definitely like, I had not done this before like this to this extent. So I was pretty proud of myself, if I'm being honest. Look at that. I would have loved to have had more time to carve all three of these and make a really cute little leaf candle set. Dollar Tree has these beautiful wooden wall tassel decor pieces. I love the ornate design, and I thought they would make perfect candle holders. All I did was just pull the tassels right off the back. There's one nail in each end. I'm gonna obviously hold on to that tassel section in case I need it for something later. Mind your business, crafting is expensive. We don't throw away perfectly good dangly bits we might need later. Anyhow. These look so amazing just sitting under the candles. You can put these sitting around, create a little cohesive collective set, put the candles on top, and they just add a really nice high-end look right underneath of your candles. If you're looking for more Dollar Tree inspiration, check out this video right here. And as always, people, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. And until next time.